I'm Julie Herman of Jaybird Quilts, and welcome to the Night Sky Sew Along. Very happy to have you here. Night Sky is one of my favorite quilts, and I'm excited to be sewing it along with you. Today we're going to talk about fabric selection. There are so many different possibilities with a Night Sky quilt. This quilt is the first Night Sky quilt that I ever made, and these are the fabrics that I used. I picked solids in 4 color groupings, and each color grouping has 4 fabrics. So there's these orangey reds, greens, blues, and purples. And then within each of those groupings are 2 fabrics on the darker side and 2 on the lighter side. And that creates contrast within the block. Additionally, I picked black as my background fabric because that way the stars of the Night Sky quilt really pop off the background. I suggest a high contrast background if you really want your stars to pop. I have a few different samples I'm going to show you today that I've made and talk about why I picked the fabrics that I did. Additionally, I have some tools for you that you should have in your email. If you have not yet signed up for the Night Sky Sew Along, the link is below. Make sure you sign up so that you can get these. Let's get started. This Night Sky quilt is made with Tula Pink's True Colors. It is twin size and it features 6 colorways. There are greens, blues, purples, pinks, oranges, and yellows. And as you can see, there are some colorways, such as the orange, that are lower in contrast between the center and outside blocks. And then there are some colorways, like the pink, where the contrast is much higher. And then there's some that are more in the middle, such as the blue and the yellow. And sometimes there's colors that pop, as this one does in the green. You can also see it here. And I've offset all of these with the fairy dust in cream. It creates a high enough contrast that you see the night sky star blocks while still providing some interest in the background. This Night Sky quilt was made using ombre prints from Vanessa of V Co. Those prints are printed so that there is one gradient of color along the print. So this is one fabric. So each one of these stars was made from one fabric instead of how the pattern is written, which is 4 fabrics. Now, if you wanted to do this, instead of cutting your fabric width of fabric, which is how the pattern directs you, you would want to cut length of fabric so that your strips would either all be dark, medium, or light. And that would enable you to create one star block from one fabric. This print is from her Ombre Confetti Metallic, and this is a really, really pretty blue aqua that goes from this light aqua with scattered dots to more dense metallic dots at the bottom here with this rich, rich teal. And then I have another one from that same collection that is kind of starts out of this nice berry, light berry color down to this rich, rich raspberry. And then I also have one from her original ombre collection that is from this light green down to this darker green. And her newest collection is the Ombre Galaxy Metallic, which will be coming out very soon. And Vanessa sent me this fat quarter bundle because she's awesome. And these fabrics are gorgeous, and I'm really looking forward to cutting up these fat quarters to see what kind of gorgeous stars that I can make, and I plan on making 1 star out of each fat quarter. This Night Sky quilt is extra special to me. It's made using Kona Cotton, 24 different solids for the blocks of this twin size sample, and 1 color for the background. The 25 had been put together in a bundle around the time of my wedding and were my wedding colors. So what I did was I took 1 color out and used that as my background, and then used the other 24 to make my stars. As a result, there's not as much contrast with some of the stars, especially some of the blue ones blend in. The green ones pop a little bit more. There's so many different options, as I mentioned, and you can play around with having a high contrast, or in this case, less of a contrast off of the background. This is the one Night Sky quilt that I've made that I can't take credit for the fabric selection or the placement. Back in 2013, Tula Pink was getting ready to release this collection, Foxfield, at Quilt Market. I had shown her a sneak peek of my patterns, including night sky, and she immediately loved it and wanted to make this quilt for her booth in her fabric. She made this quilt and I loved it so much that I then went and copied the fabric selection and placement. So there are two quilts that look exactly like this that exist. Tula has one, I have the other. There are things that she chose that I wouldn't naturally have picked, such as putting the gray with greens, putting the blue with the stars that are pink in with pink fabrics. And I wanted to show you this today because I think those are things that we can learn from. Push yourself outside of your boundaries, look to do things that you wouldn't naturally connect the dots for. She picked a medium gray background that has most of the blocks popping off of well, but some of them do blend in a little more. But there's so much activity in the prints that they still contrast off of the background. This night sky quilt was made using batik fabrics. The star fabrics are Tigerfish by McKenna, and the background is Artisan Batiks Prisma dyes by Lunn Studios, both by Robert Kaufman Fabrics. This Tigerfish quilt breaks the rules of what fabric selection is recommended for making a night sky quilt, as not all of the blocks are monochromatic. For example, the collection included 4 purple fabrics. I felt that there was not enough contrast when they were all placed in one block. As a result, I paired 2 purples with 2 pinks and the other 2 purples with 2 blues. The coloring worksheets in this week's email are tools that you can use to create a visual template for fabric choices that break the rules and still work in harmony with each other. The worksheets included in this week's email are intended to be used as a tool to help you plan your fabrics. Here's how I designed it. Go ahead, pick 4 fabrics that you think will work well to create a star block. Cut a scrap from each one and tape them down. Find some markers or colored pencils and color in your key. Then use those to color in some stars on the quilt. This will give you an idea of if these fabrics are going to work well together. You can then go ahead and repeat this for your other color groups and color in your entire quilt. Thanks so much for tuning in here today. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like it, share your comments with us, and subscribe to this channel. You can also turn on notifications for this channel to receive an alert when new videos are available. We'd love to see your night sky fabric selections. Share them with us on social media using #NightSkyQuilt so we can see the fabrics that you're working with. Thanks again, and we'll see you here next week.